In this video, we'll be exploring some of the processes that are responsible for your migraine. My name is Dr. Baptiste. I am a GP by background, but I also work as a medical educator and researcher. I'm interested in migraines, especially being a migraine sufferer myself. I have participated in research about migraines and I have and continue to treat patients with migraines in primary care. If you want to learn more about migraines, then have a look at some of the earlier videos I created. In this video, we will look at some of the major theories behind what causes migraines and the symptoms. Before I start, please note that this video is not a substitute for sound medical advice, and if you are experiencing any symptoms of a migraine or have any concerns, please do contact your GP or you can call NHS 111 in the UK. So let's make a start. From as early as the 1930s, there was research into what caused migraines, noting changes in the blood vessels in the brain. However, there has been some conflicting research around this theory, and this is no longer the predominant school of thought. Despite this, changes to blood vessels widening, or what we call vasodilation, is still recognised as having a part to play in important processes relating to migraine. Inflammation and the release of what we call neuropeptides or neuropeptides, in addition to changes to blood vessels, are what we think causes migraines. These peptides are signalling molecules or chemical messengers, essentially groups of amino acids which make up proteins. These are released from neurons or nerve cells. So in this way, messages or signals can be sent to bring about certain processes in the nervous system. So the current body of research believes that migraines are caused by nerves, nervous system, vascular, blood vessels, processes, cortical spreading depression. Now, before I talk about what cortical spreading depression or CSD is, let's look at the human body. So cells, which are similar, make up a tissue, and a tissue or group of tissues make up an organ. Then you have organ systems, which are a combination of organs working together. Cells share some basic features, and depending on what type of cell, there may be some changes. You may have heard of stem cells. There are also nerve cells, red blood cells, and so on. These cells have an electrical charge or resting potential, which is negative, roughly around minus 70 millivolts. When they get stimulated, the electrical charge changes, resulting in an action potential. This happens because of the movement of ions and in and out of the cell. Now, if you don't remember your chemistry at school, an ion has an electrical charge which can be positive or negative, and that's denoted by a positive or negative sign. The main ions are sodium, potassium, and calcium. In short, there is a movement of ions which makes the resting potential become more positive, and this then spreads as a wave across the brain. This phenomenon is particularly important when we look at migraine with aura. Importantly, CSD is related to widening of the meningeal artery, which is a blood vessel supplying a protective layer in the brain, and substances causing inflammation, which will bring about the pain of the migraine headache. Another important ion to mention is magnesium. Now, in some research, the level of magnesium has been low in migraine sufferers. Molecules involved. So other important molecules involved are nitric oxide, which causes blood vessels to dilate. Serotonin, reduced blood levels have been associated with a migraine attack. And histamine, which can bring about a headache. The trigeminovascular system. There is a part of your brain called the brainstem, and this receives lots of information about touch, temperature, and the perception of pain from certain nerves. The brainstem contains 10 nerves, one of which is the trigeminal nerve. The trigeminovascular system describes how the trigeminal nerve and its branches supply the protective layers and blood vessels in the brain. Through imaging, we have been able to visualize how the brainstem is associated with certain migraine triggers. Importantly, the trigeminal nerve releases calcitonin gene-related peptide, which I have spoken about in an earlier video, and pituitary adenylate cyclase activating peptide, or PACAP. And these peptides have been shown to cause the blood vessels in the brain to dilate or widen, which is related to nitric oxide release, in addition to others. As a result, other processes occur which lead to inflammation and increased sensitivity to pain. So in summary, cortical spreading depression or CSD stimulates the trigeminal nerve. Other molecules like the peptides we have looked at, PACAP, CGRP, have been involved in activating and sensitizing the trigeminal nerves. So now let's look at some cells. In the central nervous system, or CNS, which is the brain and spinal cord, there are various cells, for example, astrocytes, oligodendrocytes, NG2, glia and microglia. In the peripheral nervous system, PNS, which is outside of your brain and spinal cord, there are different cells such as Schwann cells, satellite glial cells, factory and sheathing cells, and enteric glia. Cells of note are astrocytes, myoglia, and satellite cells. Genetics. So I've spoken about familial hemiplegic migraine in an earlier video, and patients who suffer with migraines may have first-degree relatives who suffer too, so siblings and parents. Hormones. Migraines are 2 to 3 times more common in women compared to men. Some research has shown that migraine attacks can happen more in the 2 to 3 days leading up to a period. Periods can trigger a migraine, and some types of contraceptives can predispose patients who suffer with migraine with aura to more migraines. Migraines can also occur in pregnancy, which may be due to estrogen. So, as you can see, there are very complex processes ongoing in your brain that can bring about a migraine attack. You may have identified some triggers that can bring on an attack, such as irregular sleep patterns or sleep deprivation or missing meals. You may want to think about keeping a diary to see if you can identify any triggers. I hope you found that helpful. If you did, please do like and share this video. Do consider subscribing to stay up to date with more of my videos. If you do experience any migraine symptoms or have any concerns or questions, please do contact your GP or NHS 111 for advice. I'll see you in the next video.